The Galactic Council chamber was vast, filled with light that shimmered against golden pillars and walls carved with alien symbols older than human history itself. Delegates from 100 species gathered in silence, their eyes fixed on the doors at the far end of the hall. The atmosphere was heavy, filled with tension and curiosity. Everyone knew why they were here. For the first time in the Council's history, humanity had been invited, and every alien expected them to stumble, to reveal their weakness in front of the galaxy. The great doors opened slowly with a deep, echoing sound, and every voice fell silent. The humans entered, walking with calm steps. At their front was the diplomat, her face unreadable, her eyes forward. She was not afraid, not proud, just steady. Behind her walked the human guards. Every alien leaned forward, their eyes narrowing. Something was immediately strange. The humans carried no weapons. No rifles, no plasma blades, not even the smallest dagger. Their hands were empty, and their belts held nothing but a faint metallic badge. Whispers spread through the chamber like fire racing through dry grass. "Do they not understand where they are?" one insectoid delegate whispered. Its mandibles clicked in confusion. "They enter the council without weapons. They are either fools or already defeated," another said, its voice dripping with mockery. The humans continued their walk down the long carpet, silent, unbothered by the laughter and whispers. Their guards moved in perfect unison, their steps measured, their posture straight. They looked calm, but not relaxed. Their eyes scanned every corner of the hall, every alien sitting in their seats. They did not shift nervously. They did not falter. They simply walked, as though nothing in the room could shake them. Aliens leaned back in surprise. Guards of other species always carried weapons when escorting their diplomats. It was tradition, and it was logic. The council was a place of politics, but every species knew the danger of treachery. Even allies could turn into enemies in seconds. No one walked into this hall unarmed. To do so was madness. Still, the humans kept moving, their unarmed guards surrounding their diplomat like a wall of flesh and bone instead of steel and plasma. It was an image that unsettled the watching council members. The laughter that had begun when they first entered now faded into murmurs. A new question spread in whispers across the chamber. Why? Why would humanity risk this? Why would their guards enter without the very tools that made them guards? Every alien could think of only two reasons: ignorance or weakness. To come here without weapons was either proof that humans did not understand the danger, or proof that they were so powerless that weapons would make no difference. But deep inside, a smaller thought began to form in some of the sharper minds present. What if it was neither? The humans reached the center of the chamber, where the diplomat stopped. The guards spread behind her, forming a line. Still silent, still unarmed. Their faces unreadable, their posture still perfect. Their very presence was unsettling. They did not twitch, did not glance at one another, did not even blink too often. They seemed like statues carved from flesh, waiting, prepared. A reptilian delegate hissed softly, leaning close to a neighbor. "This is wrong. They should look afraid. They should carry blades or rifles. Why do they not?" His neighbor, a feathered being with long delicate fingers, tilted its head. "Perhaps they are simply arrogant." But arrogance did not explain their silence, nor their focus. Their calm was not the calm of fools who did not understand danger. It was the calm of something else, something harder to define. A council member finally laughed aloud, breaking the tense silence. "Guards with no weapons. You bring actors, not soldiers." His voice carried across the chamber. "Do you think the galaxy will bow to empty hands? Do you think you frighten us with stillness?" Many joined in his laughter, but it did not last long. The humans did not respond, not even with a glance. Their stillness was unnerving, their silence louder than any answer they could have spoken. The mocking laughter died quickly, leaving behind an uncomfortable silence. The insectoid delegates' many eyes focused on them, watching closely. Something about the guards was wrong, yet also familiar. The insectoid could not place it. Their movements, their breathing, even the way they turned their heads, all of it was too controlled. They were not calm by chance. They were trained for this, down to the smallest detail. Slowly, the council chamber realized what they were seeing. These were not simple men and women standing unarmed. These were soldiers, deadly soldiers, who had been shaped into something different from the rest of the galaxy's warriors. They carried no weapons, because perhaps they did not need them. One alien leaned back in its seat, its spines rising uneasily. "They look like predators," it whispered. "Yes," another answered softly. "But predators always carry claws or fangs. These carry nothing. That makes them something else." Every second stretched like an eternity. The humans remained still, their diplomat quiet, their guards like shadows. The chamber filled with tension, heavier than any weapon could have brought. The aliens could not understand it, but they felt it deep in their instincts, the same way an animal senses the presence of a hunter in the dark. The insectoid delegate's mind raced. If the humans had brought weapons, they would have been ordinary. But by bringing none, they turned the question into a mystery. And in that mystery lay power. Whispers continued, each one softer than the last, as if the aliens feared the humans might overhear them. The laughter was gone now. The mockery had turned into something else, curiosity, unease, and a thin thread of fear. The diplomat raised her head slowly, looking across the gathered council. She did not speak yet. She simply let the silence grow heavier, let the mystery of her guards sink deeper into alien minds. The council chamber had expected weakness. Instead, it felt something far more dangerous, the unknown. Because every alien now asked the same question in the quiet of their own thoughts. If humans do not need weapons, then what are they? And in that moment, as the humans stood unarmed before a chamber full of armed species, the balance of power began to shift. The council could not yet see it, but something had changed. The galaxy had taken its first step toward understanding that humanity's silence and calm were not weakness at all. They were the first warning. The chamber was restless. The humans had entered without weapons, and already their silence had unsettled the crowd. For a moment the entire hall had been caught in a strange stillness, unsure whether to laugh, to scorn, or to fear what they were seeing. Then the first alien voice rose, sharp and mocking, like a blade cutting through the quiet. "Humans," it said, its voice echoing against the high golden pillars, "what do you think you are doing? Guards without weapons are not guards at all. They are children dressed for war. You insult this council by pretending to be strong while you stand here empty-handed." Laughter spread again, louder this time. Some delegates clapped their hands together, others hissed in amusement. A feathered creature leaned forward, its eyes gleaming with cruelty. "Perhaps they could not build weapons that function outside their small world," it mocked. "Perhaps they are so primitive they carry their guards only for show." The words traveled quickly across the chamber. One alien, tall and covered in scales, hissed a cruel laugh and added, "Maybe they think their presence alone will frighten us. They are mistaken. This is no place for games." The sound of mockery grew heavier. It rolled across the chamber like a wave, each alien adding its voice, each eager to make humans feel small. The guards of other species stood proudly beside their diplomats, weapons gleaming under the council's light. Plasma rifles, energy swords, shock spears, all displayed openly, a show of strength and protection. Against this, the humans stood with empty hands. To the eyes of most in the chamber, it was pathetic. But if the humans felt insulted, they did not show it. The diplomat kept her eyes forward, her expression calm, as if she had heard nothing at all. The guards remained silent, still as statues, their faces unreadable. They did not flinch at the mocking words, nor react to the laughter that swelled around them. This calmness did not silence the council, it only provoked them further. "Do you not hear us?" a winged alien shrieked. "We speak truth. You bring your diplomat here, into the heart of galactic power, and your so-called soldiers bring no tools of war. What protection can they offer? What defense can they give when even the smallest threat arrives?" Another alien, a being with metallic skin and glowing eyes, leaned forward. Its voice was deep, resonant, filled with scorn. "Perhaps this is humanity's surrender. They come here unarmed because they know they cannot fight. They bring these guards only as decoration, to pretend they are like us." The laughter rose once more, cruel and sharp, bouncing off the walls. But slowly, something changed. The sound began to lose its strength. A ripple of unease passed through those who were watching carefully. Because through all of this, every insult, every laugh, every attempt to humiliate, the humans did not react. They stood with the same stillness, the same unshaken calm. The diplomat's eyes did not waver. The guards did not blink. Their silence became louder than the mockery itself. One alien, older and wiser than the rest, narrowed its many eyes. Its voice was low, almost hesitant. Why do they not respond? Not even with anger. Not even with shame. If they were weak, they would flinch. If they were foolish, they would try to explain themselves. But they do neither. Its words did not carry far, but those close enough to hear felt their spines tighten. The laughter faltered. The mocking voices thinned out. Something was wrong, though most could not yet name it. The human guards stood in formation, eyes scanning the room. Every movement they made was deliberate, precise, almost mechanical. Their bodies seemed relaxed, yet every muscle was ready. They gave the impression of a predator waiting for the right moment, not in a hurry, not in panic, simply waiting with patience. For the first time, the council began to realize something strange. The mockery was not touching them. The words bounced against a wall of silence that was far stronger than arrogance. The humans were not ignoring the insults out of pride. They were enduring them with a quiet certainty, as if they knew something the rest of the galaxy did not. A reptilian delegate hissed, its eyes narrowing. "They are too calm," it whispered. "Too controlled. This is not weakness. This is something else." The insectoid delegate beside it twitched its antennae nervously. But what could it be? "They carry nothing. They show nothing." The reptilian said nothing more, but its claws tapped slowly against the arm of its chair. The human diplomat finally raised her head, her eyes sweeping across the chamber. She did not smile, did not frown. Her gaze was steady, unbroken, piercing in its calm. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the chamber itself grew colder under that gaze. The laughter ended completely. A silence heavier than before filled the chamber, pressing down on the gathered council members. The mocking words seemed foolish now, hanging in the air like smoke that refused to disappear. No one knew why the humans carried no weapons. But one thing had become clear: their silence was not the silence of weakness. It was the silence of something hidden. And hidden things were dangerous. The council members shifted in their seats, their earlier confidence shaken. Some of them still wanted to laugh, to throw more insults, but the sound would not come. Their throats felt dry, their instincts warning them against it. For the first time since the humans had entered, unease replaced arrogance. And though no alien could yet admit it, a quiet thought was forming in their minds. Perhaps the humans were not the prey they had believed them to be. The chamber felt different now. The mocking had ended, replaced by a silence that no one had expected. The humans had not lifted a single weapon, had not spoken a single threat, yet already the atmosphere had shifted. The alien leaders sat in their grand seats, pretending to look relaxed, but their eyes betrayed them. They watched the human guards closely, searching for answers that none of them could find. The guards stood behind their diplomat in a perfect line. They did not shuffle their feet. They did not whisper among themselves as alien guards often did. They did not let their attention wander for even a second. Each pair of human eyes scanned the chamber with the precision of machines, yet the stillness of statues. Their hands were empty, but their presence was heavy, as if every one of them carried an invisible weapon that none could see. At first, the council tried to dismiss it. "Stillness is nothing," one delegate muttered under its breath. "They only act this way to hide their fear." But the longer the humans stood there, the harder it became to believe those words. Fear made bodies twitch. Fear made eyes dart nervously, hands clench, and breaths grow shallow. But the humans showed none of these signs. Their breathing was steady, their eyes sharp, their postures firm. A bird-like alien leaned forward, its feathers ruffling uneasily. "Look at their eyes," it whispered to its neighbor. "Not one of them looks away. They are studying us. Every movement, every gesture, every shadow in this chamber, they are watching it all." Its neighbor, a scaled reptilian, hissed softly. "That is not the gaze of prey. That is the gaze of predators who already know where to strike." The insectoid delegate shifted uneasily on its many legs. Its antennae twitched as it observed the guards. Something about them was unsettling in a way it could not explain. "Their calm is unnatural," it said. "Even trained soldiers cannot hold such discipline forever." but they stand as though carved from stone. How long have they been trained for this? No one answered. The question hung in the air like smoke. Then something small happened. One alien guard, belonging to a reptilian species, shifted slightly in its stance. The sound of its armor plates scraping together echoed faintly in the chamber. Almost immediately, one of the human guards turned his head, not quickly, not aggressively, but with slow precision. His eyes locked onto the reptilian guard, unblinking, steady. The reptilian froze, its body going rigid. For a moment, the only sound in the chamber was the faint hum of the council's energy lights. The human guard did not move again. He simply turned his head back, calm, as though nothing had happened. But the damage was done. Every alien who had seen the moment felt a chill run through them. The human had reacted instantly, as if his senses were sharper than the finest scanners. And the way he looked, steady and unbroken, had felt more dangerous than any weapon. The council members began to murmur softly. Their earlier confidence cracked further. The humans carried no guns, no blades, no shields. Yet their guards were sharper, faster, more aware than any armed soldier in the room. And the more the aliens watched, the more they began to notice details that had escaped them before. Their posture was too perfect. Their spacing was exact, as though measured. They all breathed at nearly the same rhythm, slow and steady, controlled in a way that was almost unnatural. Even their eyes, though scanning constantly, seemed to move with unity, as if they shared a silent awareness of one another. A feathered delegate spoke softly, its voice filled with unease. They are connected. Not by machines, not by implants, but by training. Look at how they move. If one were to step forward, the others would already know how to follow. This is not coincidence. This is something deeper. Another delegate, metallic in form with glowing eyes, leaned back in its chair, its voice low and thoughtful. We laugh at their empty hands. But perhaps their strength does not lie in the weapons they carry. Perhaps their strength lies in what they are. The chamber grew quiet again. More and more eyes focused on the guards, as if searching for cracks in their composure. But there were none. Each human stood ready, not tense, not fearful, but ready in a way the aliens could not quite understand. It was the readiness of predators who did not need claws to hunt. One of the older delegates, a creature with pale skin stretched thin over a tall skeletal frame, tapped its claw against the table. Its voice was dry but sharp. Do you not feel it? Their silence weighs heavier than our laughter. They are not armed, but still we hesitate to move against them. Why? Because something inside us knows, there is more to fear here than what we can see. The words settled into the chamber like stones dropped into water, sending ripples of thought through every mind present. Few wanted to admit it, but they all felt it. Something about these unarmed humans was dangerous. Something they could not name, could not measure, but could feel deep in their instincts. The human diplomat finally raised her head, glancing once at her guards, then back at the council. She still did not speak. She didn't need to. Her silence was enough, because now every alien in that chamber could feel the shift. The guards were unarmed, yes. But they were not defenseless. They were not weak. And the longer the aliens watched them, the more one truth began to form, though no one dared to say it aloud. Perhaps the reason humans brought no weapons was simple. Weapons were weaker than the guards themselves. The silence was unbearable now. What had begun as laughter and mockery had turned into something the council was not used to feeling, unease. The human guards stood like shadows, unarmed yet somehow heavier than soldiers with plasma rifles. Their calm, their stillness, the way their eyes moved, it unsettled even the most arrogant delegates. Finally, one alien could not bear it any longer. A tall creature with scales of deep green and eyes that glowed faintly red rose from its seat. Its armor clattered as it moved, and its long tail dragged across the floor. This was Commander Kareth, a warrior of a reptilian empire known for its strength and aggression. He had fought in countless battles, had killed with his own hands, and had no patience for mysteries. Enough of this farce, Kareth said, his voice loud, echoing against the high walls of the chamber. We sit here in silence, staring at statues that call themselves guards. They carry no weapons. They are not soldiers. They are actors in costume. His gaze swept over the humans, his lips curling into something between a sneer and a challenge. And I will prove it. Murmurs spread quickly through the chamber. Some leaned forward eagerly, hoping to see humans exposed as weak. Others shifted uncomfortably, their instincts warning them not to encourage this. But Kareth was already moving. He strode down from his seat, his heavy footsteps echoing against the polished floor. His tail swung behind him like a whip as he approached the line of human guards. The diplomat did not move, nor did her guards. They stood as though they had not even seen him coming. Kareth stopped in front of the first human guard, towering over him. The alien's scaled body was broad, covered in battle scars, his armor reinforced with thick plates. By contrast, the human wore no armor, only a simple dark uniform, his chest unprotected, his hands empty. Kareth leaned down, his eyes narrowing. You call yourself a guard? You carry no blade, no rifle, no shield. What do you guard, human? Or are you just here to make your diplomat feel less alone? The human did not answer. His eyes, calm and sharp, locked onto Kareth's without a flicker of fear. His breathing stayed steady, his posture unbroken. Kareth's lips pulled back to reveal sharp teeth. Do you not speak? Or is silence all that you have? He shoved the human's shoulder, hard enough that the sound echoed. The human did not stumble. He did not even sway. He remained rooted to the ground, unshaken, still staring into Kareth's eyes. The chamber grew colder. The watching delegates leaned forward, their amusement fading into something else. The reptilian commander frowned. He had expected anger, a defensive move, perhaps even fear. Instead, he received nothing. Kareth growled, louder this time, his voice filling the chamber. Look at them. Empty shells. Weaklings. He shoved again, harder. Still nothing. The human did not resist, did not attack, did not flinch. He simply endured, eyes never leaving Kareth's. Then something strange happened. The commander felt a prickle at the back of his neck. He turned slightly and realized that all of the human guards had shifted their gaze. Not quickly, not dramatically, but together. As one. Every single one of them was now staring at him. The weight of their collective gaze pressed down on him like a storm. His tail flicked nervously, though he tried to hide it. Their eyes were not angry. They were not afraid. They were measuring him. Watching him as a predator watches prey, calm and patient, deciding when to strike. The chamber was silent, every delegate frozen in their seat. The shift in the air was undeniable. It no longer felt like a proud warrior confronting weak guards. It felt like prey disturbing a den of wolves. Kareth's throat went dry. He snarled, trying to cover his discomfort. Do you see? They do nothing. They cannot even defend themselves. But his voice cracked slightly at the end, and many in the chamber heard it. Whispers began to ripple through the rows of delegates. Why do they not fight back? One asked. Why do they not flinch? Another added. What are they waiting for? The insectoid delegate leaned forward, its antennae trembling. They are not reacting because they do not need to, it whispered. They know something, something we do not. Kareth forced himself to sneer again, trying to look in control, but he could not shake the feeling of those eyes. Dozens of human eyes, unblinking, steady, locked on him with unnatural calm. His tail lashed again, betraying the unease he felt. The diplomat finally moved. Slowly, calmly, she raised her head and looked at Kareth. Her voice was quiet, but it carried across the chamber with ease. Commander, she said, her tone calm, even polite. It would be unwise to test patience that is deeper than yours. The words struck harder than any shout. They were not a threat, not a warning shouted in fear. They were delivered with quiet certainty, as if the outcome was already known. The chamber grew colder. Kareth's mouth opened as if to reply, but he found no words. For the first time in years, he felt something he had forgotten, hesitation. He stepped back, just slightly, but enough for everyone to see. The whispers grew louder. The council had seen what happened. The mighty reptilian commander, warrior of countless battles, had been unsettled by guards who carried no weapons and spoke no words. And now, the silence that followed felt sharper than any blade. The chamber held its breath. Commander Kareth had stepped back, just slightly, but enough for every alien to see. The mighty warrior who had expected to shame the humans now stood unsettled, his growl hollow, his tail restless. The silence that followed weighed heavy, pressing on the walls, pressing on the hearts of every delegate. No one laughed anymore. The earlier mockery had vanished, replaced by a quiet unease that none of them wished to admit. The humans had still not moved, still not spoken, yet they had shifted the entire atmosphere of the council chamber. It was then that another voice broke the silence. This one came from the upper tiers, where a feathered delegate with long, elegant wings stood. Its feathers shimmered faintly under the golden lights, but there was no amusement in its eyes. Its voice, sharp and clear, carried across the chamber. "Enough games," it said. "We all see what has happened. We all feel it, though we try to hide it. But the question must be asked, and it must be answered. Why?" The word echoed. The aliens' eyes narrowed on the humans. "Why do your guards come unarmed into this council? Why do you strip them of blades, rifles, shields? Why do you insult every tradition we have built by sending them into danger with nothing? Do you think yourselves above us? Or is this your attempt to frighten us with riddles and silence?" The demand hung heavy in the air. Every alien turned their gaze toward the humans, waiting. Some leaned forward, tense. Others held their breath. All of them wanted the same thing, to understand. For the first time, curiosity outweighed arrogance. For the first time, they did not laugh at the absence of weapons. They feared the reason behind it. The human diplomat, who until now had stood in calm silence, finally stepped forward. She did not raise her hands. She did not bow. She simply walked to the center of the speaking circle, her calm presence commanding attention. When she stopped, her voice followed. "You ask why," she said softly. Her words were simple, but the sound of her voice cut through the silence with ease. "And I will tell you." The chamber leaned in, thousands of eyes fixed on her. "Our guards carry no weapons," she continued, her tone steady, "because they do not need them." A ripple passed through the chamber like a shockwave. Whispers erupted, some filled with disbelief, others with unease. "Do not need them," one alien hissed. "Impossible." Another muttered, "Arrogance." But the diplomat raised her hand, and the whispers fell silent once again. "You believe weapons make a soldier," she said. "You believe that a guard without a rifle is no guard at all. That is your way. But humanity is different. Our guards are chosen not for the weapons they carry, but for what they themselves are." Her words sank deep, heavy and unshakable. Commander Kareth snarled from where he stood. "Empty words. Without arms, no one survives battle." The diplomat's eyes turned toward him, calm as ever. "Then tell me, Commander, why did you step back?" The chamber gasped. Kareth froze. His throat tightened, his tail lashed once, but he could not answer. He had stepped back, all had seen it, and there was no denying it. The silence that followed was colder than before, sharper than a blade. The diplomat let her gaze sweep across the chamber once more. "Our guards do not carry weapons," she said, her voice low but certain. "Because they are the weapon." The words hung in the air like thunder that did not fade. The council chamber, vast and filled with beings from every corner of the galaxy, sat in silence. The meaning struck them all at once. The humans had no need for steel, plasma, or blade. Their strength was not in tools of war. Their strength was in the soldiers themselves. Every alien felt it then, the reason their laughter had died, the reason their instincts had screamed caution. These guards did not need weapons. Their very presence was enough. Their calm was not arrogance. It was certainty. And for the first time, the council began to see humanity not as weak, not as primitive, but as something far more dangerous. The council chamber was so quiet now that the hum of the energy lights above seemed louder than any voice. Every delegate, every guard, every watching eye was fixed on the humans. The diplomat's words still lingered, heavy and sharp. "They are the weapon." It was not shouted. It was not boasted. It was spoken like truth carved into stone, unshakable, undeniable. But in a hall full of species that had ruled for centuries, words alone were never enough. Many stared with unease, but some clung to doubt. A crystalline being leaned forward, its voice ringing like broken glass. "Fine words," it said coldly. But words are not proof. A weapon unseen is no weapon at all. Show us, then. Show us what these guards truly are. The challenge was met with murmurs. Some aliens nodded in agreement. Others shifted uncomfortably, instinctively unwilling to provoke the humans further. The council waited. All eyes turned to the human diplomat. She did not hesitate. She glanced once to her side, the faintest nod. A single guard stepped forward. The sound of his boot striking the polished floor echoed across the chamber, far louder than it should have. The guard was tall, broad-shouldered, his uniform simple, his hands empty. He walked with no rush, no swagger, no attempt to intimidate. He simply moved, steady and deliberate, until he reached the center of the chamber. Then he stopped. For a moment, nothing happened. The council leaned forward, waiting. Some whispered impatiently. Others held their breath. Then the human guard moved. It was sudden, but not chaotic. His body blurred, faster than most eyes could follow. One heartbeat, he was still. The next, he had crossed the chamber with a speed that left even the reptilian commander startled. In less than a second, he was standing inches from Kareth, the great warrior who had mocked them earlier. Not a single weapon had been drawn. Not a single strike had been made. But the message was clear. The alien commander had no time to react, no chance to lift a claw, no chance to defend himself. If the human had wanted, it would have been over before Kareth even understood what had happened. The chamber gasped in unison. 1,000 voices cut short by shock. Kareth froze, his red eyes wide, his muscles locked in disbelief. He, a veteran of battles across worlds, had not even seen the human move until it was already too late. The guard stood before him, calm, still, hands empty, but his presence was crushing. The guard did not speak. He did not raise a hand. He simply stared into Kareth's eyes, steady, unblinking. And in that stare, every alien in the room understood the truth. Weapons were not needed. The guard himself was a weapon sharper, faster, deadlier than any blade. Slowly, with the same calm control, the human stepped back. He returned to the center, then to his line, his movements precise and deliberate. When he stopped, the silence that followed was heavier than before. The council was shaken. Delegates whispered to themselves, their voices tight with disbelief and fear. Impossible, one muttered. No creature moves like that. Another hissed, not even our fastest soldiers could cross that space so quickly. The insectoid delegates' antennae trembled. It was not speed alone, it whispered. It was control. He moved as if he already knew the outcome. As if the fight was over before it began. The human diplomat raised her head once more. Her voice was calm, steady, unbroken. Now you see. They do not need weapons. They are trained beyond them. Every movement, every breath, every thought, sharpened until the soldier himself is the weapon. No one laughed now. No one dared. Even the proudest warriors in the chamber felt something in their hearts that they could not deny. Fear. And though not a single shot had been fired, not a single drop of blood spilled, the council finally understood why the humans entered their halls unarmed. The chamber was restless now. The silence had broken into scattered whispers, each one carrying unease. Delegates shifted in their seats, wings rustling, claws twitching, tendrils curling in nervous patterns. No one dared laugh anymore. No one even dared speak openly against what they had just seen. What unsettled them most was not the speed of the human guard. It was the calm. He had moved without anger, without force, without even raising his hand. He had shown what he could do, and then simply stepped back into line. The restraint was more terrifying than any attack. The insectoid overlord clicked his mandibles uneasily. If one moves like that, what of 100? What of 1,000? His question was not meant for an answer, but it slithered into the thoughts of every delegate present. Some imagined it, lines of human guards, all trained the same way, all with the same stillness, the same certainty. No rifles. No blades. Just themselves. Entire armies that fought not as individuals but as a single, disciplined weapon. It was not only frightening, it was unnatural. To many in that chamber, it was unthinkable. The crystalline delegate leaned back, its voice softer now, no longer mocking. You bring soldiers like this into our chamber unarmed, because they are armed already. You know that any one of them could strike down even the most skilled among us before we blink. The diplomat did not deny it. She stood tall, calm, her expression unreadable. Commander Kareth, still stiff from his humiliation, tried to growl, but the sound was weaker than before. His pride battled with the fear that still lingered in his chest. He opened his mouth to speak, but his own words failed him. The council had seen his retreat. They had seen his hesitation. He could not erase it. Another delegate, scaled and long-necked, hissed low. You claim this is discipline. Training. But no one is trained to that level. Not without something else. Tell us, human, how do you make them into this? The diplomat's eyes swept the chamber. For a moment, she said nothing, letting the silence build once again. Then, softly, she replied. You believe we make them. But you are mistaken. We do not create this. We discover it. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, sharp and tense. Discover it. What did she mean? The diplomat's gaze shifted briefly to her guards, then back to the council. Humanity has always lived with struggle. From the first fire we lit to the stars we now walk among, danger has never left us. Our soldiers are not trained to carry weapons. They are trained to become one. It is who we are. It is what we have always been. The words struck deep. The idea that humanity had not simply invented this power but carried it naturally was more unsettling than anything else. If this was true, then every human soldier was a weapon in waiting. And if that was true, then Earth was not weak at all, it was perhaps the most dangerous world in the council. A silence stretched again, heavier than the last. The guards stood still, their calm presence like shadows of something far larger. The council had begun the day laughing at humans. Now they sat in quiet fear, wondering how many other truths were hidden beneath human silence. And none dared to ask what would happen if such weapons were ever unleashed in war. The chamber was holding its breath again. Every word, every motion, had shifted the balance of power in ways no one had expected. The aliens who once mocked humanity now sat in silence, weighed down by the presence of guards who stood without weapons yet seemed far more dangerous than entire armies. The diplomat let the silence stretch, long enough that every delegate began to feel it pressing on their chest. Then, at last, she spoke. You now understand what our guards are, she said calmly. You see why they do not need weapons. But you still do not understand why we come to this council unarmed. Dozens of eyes fixed on her. Some wide with fear, others narrowed with suspicion, but none dared interrupt. She raised her head, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We do not come unarmed to frighten you. We do not come unarmed to boast of strength. We come unarmed, because it is the only way peace can exist here. The word struck like a blade in reverse, gentle, but undeniable. If we armed our guards, you would see only threat. Every movement, every glance, every breath would be taken as provocation. And perhaps you would strike first, fearing what might come. But when we enter without weapons, we leave no excuse. We show restraint. We show that we do not seek war here, in this chamber. The diplomat's eyes swept across the crowd. And yet, she paused, letting her words grow heavy. You feel fear anyway. Not because of rifles. Not because of blades. But because of what stands before you even when unarmed. That fear is not something we created. It is something you discovered for yourselves. The council sat stunned. No one could deny the truth in her words. The insectoid overlord shifted uneasily, mandibles clicking. Then why bring them at all? If peace is your purpose, why bring such dangerous beings to this hall? The diplomat did not hesitate. Because peace is only possible if it is protected. Our guards do not come here to fight. They come here to ensure we can speak without interruption, without fear of assassination, without games of power. They come unarmed so the message is clear, peace is our choice, but not our weakness. Her voice dropped lower, colder. If war were our choice, we would not need weapons to bring it. The chamber froze. No one dared breathe. The words did not roar, but they thundered nonetheless, echoing in every mind present. For the first time in memory, the Council felt something they had never expected from humanity, not weakness, not arrogance, but power hidden beneath restraint. Power that chose silence, chose peace, but could end everything if pushed too far. The diplomat stepped back, her hands folded calmly before her. The guards behind her did not move, did not shift, did not even blink. Their stillness spoke louder than blades ever could. The message was clear. Humans did not need weapons. Humans were the weapon. And the galaxy would never see them the same way again.